Thank you, Senator Lanza, and thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my colleagues, this amendment is definitely germane because it relates directly to small businesses being effective in coming back when we open the economy. And that relates to this amendment because the important part about that is not only making them successful, but to bringing those individuals back who are jobless right now and on that security program we put in place called Unemployment. Mr. President and my colleagues, I don't think there's a word, of course, or a series of words, or a sentence, or a paragraph, or even a book that can be written about the impact of this horrendous pandemic and the tragedy it has wrought on the constituents and the citizens, not only of this state, the 9.5 million people, but this nation and our world. And we understand that probably and know that just as well as our family members in our Senate and our assembly districts on the other side of this building. Because I believe if we look at it as we've advocated in the past and in the present for all my fellow senators here, I would say there was 100% or more increase in our advocacy on the calls we've gotten related to what we could do to help our constituents in every segment of society across this state in our Senate districts. The individuals, the families, those who were separated from their loved ones with the nursing home issue, the nursing home numbers, looking at the situation on the second floor on the decision on March 25th that our governor made, which led to one of the worst tragedies in the history of New York State, a tragedy within this holistic tragedy of what's happened not only with the health and safety and well-being, the loss of lives, but it's an economic tragedy also for the individuals who are jobless right now. And we've worked with those families, those individuals. We've worked on the PPEs with our first responders who have done a great job. But also we've tried to work with our small, medium, and large businesses, all businesses. Because when businesses are back and we open our economy, well, the jobs hopefully will start to come back. For some, the light at that end of that tunnel is very dim. And I would venture to say, and I thank my office, my staff, the work we've done, and I thank the other senators with the work they've done, and this unemployment system, which was a complete disaster, crashed over and over and over again. We got calls every single day during the past year. We're still getting calls that individuals who have been jobless for not days and weeks, but for months, can't get into the system. Big bureaucracy. We had to intervene. And I'm proud to say we did intervene. We got individuals into the system, and then we had to get the checks out of the system because the system was crashing so much. These are individuals, the totality, 4 million individuals on unemployment over the course of this past year with this pandemic. 4 million individuals don't see much of a light at the end of the tunnel for their economic well-being. They don't know if they're going to be able to put food on the table. They don't know if they're going to be able to pay their rent. They don't know if they're going to be able to pay their mortgage and keep their house. They don't know if they're going to be able to pay their kids' tuition to keep them in school, which is so important, that education. They don't know if they're going to be able to keep their cars. In fact, many have called and said, I sold my house. I had to. Couldn't pay the mortgage. They took my car. I couldn't pay the car bill. Medical bills, having problems with. And the individuals who are impacted the most within this unemployment system, even when they've got that bridge and that lifeline going, are the individuals that know they can't go back to their previous job. Because guess what? The business and the company they've worked for didn't make it. They went belly up. They don't exist anymore. That job doesn't exist. They've got to find a new job. Some, when we open it up fully, will be able to go back. They'll be helped out. They'll find something into the future to help them. Well, the federal government has done something about this for the unemployed. And that's what this amendment is all about. Well, they've done two things. First of all, they extended the deadline for New Yorkers to pay their taxes. It is now May 17th, and that's a good thing. Because these people who are really reaching and trying to rustle up the money to pay their taxes, that's important for them. But they've done something else, Republicans and Democrats, bipartisan at the federal government. They've said, don't giveth and then taketh away. Don't give me a benefit and say it's a lifeline, unemployment assistance, a bridge to a better place with the economy so I can pay those bills and get into the job market. We're going to give you a $10,200 break on your first $10,200. The federal government has passed that. That's in place. They not only passed an extension of when we pay our taxes, but they're going to give those people who are most downtrodden now, don't see any light at that tunnel, that break. It makes sense, and we should be doing that in New York State, and I'm shocked that the majority has not brought out a bill here, that the governor has not done his executive order, because he's still got control of 60 of them right now, or the other side of the aisle hasn't done that. You've taxed the rich by $7 billion, but these aren't the rich. These are the people who are most challenged economically, and you haven't done a thing yet. Now, we can do something right now. We can do something with this amendment, because this amendment, I believe like the federal one, is bipartisan. This is Senator Felder's bill, one of your Democratic colleagues. And it's got Republican and it's got Democratic members on it, because you know what? I never ask, and I don't believe any of my Democratic colleagues ask or my Republican colleagues ask, can you help me with advocacy for my unemployment, get me in the system? I've never asked, and I don't believe you've ever asked. Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Are you independent? We don't care about that, because we represent everybody, and we should represent everybody. This is an amendment which embodies a bill, Senator Felder's bill. I give him credit for that, but I'm a sponsor of the bill. Several of my colleagues are. Your colleagues are sponsors of the bill. To do, not taxing the rich, you're letting those who are downtrodden be taxed. You giveth and you taketh away. Let's not do that. That sends a terrible message. Mr. President, you can stand up today there, and this majority can stand up today and say, we're not going to turn our back on you. We're not going to give you some money and say this is a bridge to a better place from you, but we're going to take it away and actually tax the money for those who don't have a job to go back to right now. Makes no sense whatsoever. Now, we can do two things here, Mr. President. You can either say, yeah, bring this bill to the floor. It's germane. Let's Republicans and Democrats together vote for this amendment, which embodies a bipartisan bill to bring some assistance to those who don't know what their economic future is. And we can pass this here, send it to the Senate and pass it, and let the governor sign it and say, we had your back, which we should for those people who don't have a job and don't know if they're going to be able to put food on the table. Or you can do something else, Mr. President, which I hope you don't do. Use the word procedure. If you use the word procedure, you in this majority, I believe, are turning your backs, not on Republicans and Democrats, but everybody who we represent in this state, those 4 million people who don't know where their economy is going right now. So I hope you don't do that. I hope you say, we're going to change that. We're going to stop the stress. We're going to stop the anxiety to a certain extent. We're going to make sure that we got your back. Mr. President, please have the back of everybody that we represent in New York State. Make this germane, because they're going to know, once you use that word for procedure, you're just going like this to the people we represent. And I don't think that's good for Republicans or Democrats or anybody who represents anybody on any level. Mr. President, I ask you to accept the appeal and make this germane and let us vote on it.